I was born beneath the heavy skies of Mississippi, in a land where the earth bore the scars of forgotten sorrows, and each gust of wind carried the cries of lost souls. My childhood was filled with grief and hardship, and even as a young man, I knew that the future was not kind to those who dared to dream beyond their daily suffering. In the loneliness of my early years, I carried a battered blues guitar as if it were the sole remnant of hope amid the desolation and despair that surrounded me. It was in those dark, humid nights that I first heard tales of a place called the Crossroads, a desolate junction where the veil between worlds grew thin and promises of extraordinary abilities were traded in private, hushed, otherworldly voices. The older elders in our small town spoke of this place in reverent tones, cautioning that only the most desperate, or perhaps the most daring, would dare to seek its forbidden blessings. In my heart, I longed for a way to break free of the bonds of my mortal limits, to free myself from the endless cycle of sorrow and despair that had marked my daily existence. One fateful night, when the moon hid behind a flock of clouds and the Mississippi air was heavy with the scent of damp earth, I made my way along a lifeless road toward the infamous crossroads. The sound of my footsteps on the gravel seemed unnaturally loud in the stillness of the night, each step in rhythm to the beat of a heart filled with hope and trepidation. The world around me was silent, except for the distant call of a lone raven, and as I approached the junction where highways 61 and 49 crossed, an uncanny chill settled in over my soul. I paused at the center of the crossroads, feeling as though unseen eyes watched my every move. In that moment, I recalled the ancient incantations I had learned from those who spoke of this otherworldly bargain. With a trembling voice, I uttered the forbidden words, my breath merging with the cool night air. I did not know then that this act would forever alter the course of my life, binding me to a fate as wondrous as it was terrifying. Standing beneath the silent vault of night, I felt an unmistakable blend of hope and fear. Each shadow around me spoke of forgotten tales, and every soft breeze carried the hope of promises once made. I sensed that the ground itself remembered the desperate souls who had ventured here, seeking a power that lay just beyond mortal grasp. The air, thick with the weight of countless prayers and unspoken fears, reminded me that some bargains come with unknowable consequences. In that solitary moment at the crossroads, I stood as both a seeker and a witness to forces far greater than my understanding. My fingers, resting on the cool surface of my guitar, trembled with anticipation while my heart pounded in a rhythm of daring resolve. I realized that in choosing this path, I was accepting a fate coupled with light and darkness, a destiny that promised to elevate my music and in turn to plunge my soul into the unknown depths of Hades. In the blackish depths of that fateful night, I sensed a presence drawing near, though I saw nothing at first. Then, slowly, a form began to materialize from the netherworld, a silhouette that defied simple description, shifting like smoke in a dim, moonless night. I could not discern its true nature, yet an uncanny awareness told me I was in the presence of something not of this world. My heart pounded in my chest as I embraced my guitar, each beat revealing the tremor of my uncertain fate. A voice, both stern and commanding, filled the silence without a single sound escaping its lips. It spoke directly to my soul, bypassing the confines of ordinary speech. "You yearn for greatness," it intoned, a statement that was neither comforting nor cruel, but carried the weight of ancient understanding. In that moment, the entity's presence felt both alluring and foreboding, as if it were offering a gift that came with hidden consequences. I sensed that my utter mortality was laid bare before it, an open book of my deepest desires and unspoken regrets. The figure reached out, its hand indistinct and almost ethereal, hovering over the bass of my guitar. As its touch grazed the strings, I felt an electric energy surge through me, a current both exhilarating and deeply unsettling. The instrument vibrated with a resonance transcending normal sound, its music carrying a melancholy yet powerful tone that promised to reshape my very being. I knew, without fully understanding why, that this was no mere accident of nature. It was a deliberate act of transformation. I accepted the silent invitation, though my mind trembled with doubt and fear. In that breathtaking moment, I made a choice that would forever alter the future of my existence. The exchange was not marked by overt violence or cruelty, but by a quiet, insidious binding of my destiny to forces beyond mortal understanding. The touch of that mysterious hand permeated my music with an intensity both wondrous and daunting, a utterly sublime yet sorrowful symphony reaching the deepest recesses of the human heart. In the days that followed, I found my blues guitar spoke with a voice all its own. Each time I strummed its strings, the music carried the indelible imprint of that ghostly encounter. My performances took on an otherworldly quality, drawing crowds inexplicably moved by the raw emotion and palpable depth of every pitch, perfect note. Yet, even as accolades began to pour in, a shadow of unease crept into my mind. I could not shake the thought that the power I now wielded was covered with a dark, inscrutable force, a force that might one day exact a terrible price. I kept my secret close, sharing my newfound gift only through the plaintive strains of my music. Night after night, in dimly lit clubs and quiet parlors, I revealed fragments of my soul to audiences unaware of the true cost of my talent. The gift, or perhaps the curse, had awakened something within me, and I began to wonder if every note I played was a reminder of that strange, fateful agreement. The figure's influence was subtle, yet pervasive, a constant calling, urging me onward, even as it threatened to consume the very essence of who I was. Now, as I recount this chapter of my life, I am left with questions that linger like silhouettes at dusk. Was the entity a force of external evil or a reflection of the darkness residing within my own soul? The memory of its touch remains etched in my consciousness, a silent testament to the thin line between blessing and curse. Though I embraced the power it bestowed, I could not shake the feeling that my fate was permanently bound to this vile force. In the aftermath of that unearthly encounter, my life took a turn I had never even imagined. The transformation of my music was almost immediate and profound. I journeyed to distant towns and recording studios where the notes of my guitar seemed to summon a magic that defied explanation. In Texas, in modest studios filled with the buzz of anticipation, I recorded song after song that captured the raw emotion of a man touched by unknown forces beyond comprehension. Titles like Crossroads Blues, Me and the Midnight Whisper, and Soul's Lament came forth from the depths of my altered spirit, each melody resonating with the weight of an unspoken and unpaid pact. As I traveled from town to town, word of my extraordinary ability spread like wildfire. Crowds gathered in small clubs and outdoor gatherings, drawn by a sound that was as haunting as it was beautiful. My fingers moved over the strings with a precision and passion that astonished even me. In every chord lay the contract of that fateful night, the subtle, persistent reminder that my extraordinary talent was a gift and a heavy burden. Each performance became a communion with an unseen presence, a silent dialogue between my soul and the unearthly force that had reshaped my destiny. Yet, amid the applause and adoration, a quiet uneasiness settled deep into my heart. I noticed fleeting images on the edge of my vision of audiences, as if someone or something watched from the darkness. There were moments when the strains of my music were accompanied by a peculiar, almost imperceptible, evil undertone, a soft, silent pulsing in time with my heartbeat. These subtle disturbances grew into recurring visions in my nightmares, where I found myself back at the crossroads, reliving the mysterious bargain with a clarity that left me mesmerized and deeply troubled. My nights became restless, haunted by memories of a demoness figure whose touch had forever altered my destiny. I began to question the nature of the power now coursing through my veins. Was it merely a gift or a curse that demanded a sacrifice I had yet to understand? Each new melody was tinged with bittersweet sadness, a reminder of the price paid for greatness and immortality. In quiet moments between performances, I would stare into the black void behind the stage and wonder if I had truly embraced a blessing or unwittingly invited an eternal torment. Still, I pressed on, driven by an insatiable desire to share my music with a world that had warmly embraced me. I performed in smoky juke joints and at lively gatherings, my guitar becoming an extension of my very being. The music flowed effortlessly, as if guided by a force beyond my control. Each note testified to the power of the unseen, a bridge between the mortal realm and the mysteries beyond. In every performance, I could feel that invisible, ominous presence, ever watchful, as if it were both guardian and judge. The duality of my existence became a constant companion, an eternal reminder that the line between triumph and tragedy is perilously thin. With each new song, I sensed a deepening bond that became as much a part of me as the very air I breathed. The journey of my music was one of luminous beauty and profound sorrow, a delicate dance between creativity's light and the dark undertow of an unknown curse. In that balance, I found both solace and terror, forever entangled in a destiny that was as inspiring as it was foreboding. Thus, with each strum and every heartbeat, I ventured further into a mysterious realm where destiny and art merged, leaving me forever changed through each note I played. One stormy evening, after a performance that left my spirit exalted and exhausted, I wandered through the silent, rain-soaked streets. The city around me was a sea of dark alleys and flickering neon lights, and every step I took etched with the lingering notes of my guitar. Lost in a haze of contemplation and fatigue, I found myself inexplicably drawn to a quiet park where the sounds of the urban world softened into a distant memory. There, on a solitary bench beneath a withered tree, I allowed my thoughts to drift back again to that fateful night. As the rain pattered softly against the pavement, I closed my eyes and recalled the ominous encounter in vivid detail. The memory was both a comfort and a curse, a reminder of the transformation that had set me on this path. In my reverie, I felt the familiar tingle of that mysterious touch, a sensation that sent shivers down my spine and stirred emotions long buried. It was as if the very air around me vibrated with echoes of that otherworldly energy, and I could almost hear the distant, mournful strains of a guitar calling from just beyond time and space. In the quiet solitude of that rainy night, I began to question the true nature of the bargain I had struck. Had I, in my desperate need for greatness, traded away more than I could ever repay? The thought haunted me like a persistent pain, its presence as inescapable as icy water dripping from the eaves of an old, forgotten house. I wonder if each note I played was a reminder of the silent price I had reluctantly agreed to pay, a price measured not in coins or fleeting praise, but in the slow erosion of my humanity and my soul. My mind wandered through an array of memories and doubts. I recalled the subtle changes in my demeanor, the moments when I felt a disconnect between the man I was and the persona I projected on stage. The transformation was gradual, like the slow, endless drip of rain, drops carving holes into stone, until one day I no longer recognized myself in the mirror. I had become both instrument and subject of a pact that forever altered the rhythm of my life. The music, once a source of solace and expression, now carried an undercurrent of sorrow, a lament resonating with the ceaseless march of time. As the night deepened and the storm intensified, a feeling of overwhelming loneliness settled over me. I sensed I was not alone, even in that desolate park. The gentle rustle of leaves and the soft cries of the wind took on a haunting quality, as if nature itself mourned the cost of my fateful decision. Yet amid the melancholy and regret, a stirring of defiance emerged within me. I resolved that night to delve deeper into the mysteries that bound me, to confront the silent forces that had reshaped my destiny. I knew the journey ahead would be fraught with peril and that the forces of my past would continue to haunt me. Still, within the depths of my torment lay seeds of hope waiting for the moment when I could break free of the chains that bound me to that ill-fated pact. I rose from the park bench as the rain began to subside, feeling a mix of sorrow and newfound determination. Each drop that fell seemed to cleanse a fragment of my past while offering a stern reminder of the price I had paid. With a heavy heart and a resolve tempered by suffering, I vowed to seek understanding, even if it meant confronting the darkness within myself. I stepped forward into the night, ready to face destiny, whatever it may be. In the quiet aftermath of my soul's confession, I began to unravel the final truth of my existence. The journey through pain, music, and darkness had led me to a revelation that shattered every assumption I held about fate and the nature of the bargain I struck. Sitting alone in the dim light of a flickering lamp, I reviewed every memory and whispered note that had brought me to this moment. The lines between reality and nightmare blurred, and I saw with stark clarity that my life was a tapestry woven with threads of brilliance and torment. I came to understand that the encounter at the crossroads was not an isolated moment of demonic intervention, but the spark that ignited a perpetual cycle of creation and decay. Each performance, every soul-stirring melody, was but a few chords of an endless symphony, a cycle in which I was both composer and captive. It was as if time itself had become an endless loop, repeating moments of glory and despair in an eternal dance. I recalled the day of my supposed human demise, when a mysterious illness overtook me after a raucous blues party, and the world believed my talent had been extinguished. Yet even in death, the music endured, and I found myself reborn into an existence that defied belief. The true horror of my fate lay not in the bargain with an external demon, but in the realization that the darkness I feared was born within. I saw that the smoky figure I once encountered was a mirror of my own inner self, a manifestation of the ambition, sorrow, and desire that had driven me to seek the forbidden gift. In that agonizing moment of clarity, I recognized that I had been the seeker and subject of my own undoing. My life was an endless repetition, an ongoing loop in which every note was a reminder of the pact I made with my own inner demons. As I embraced this revelation, a calm settled over me. The pursuit of greatness, the haunting whispers of fate, and the performing of the blues had led me to one truth. My destiny was determined not by an external force, but by the choices I made and the darkness I nurtured in my heart. The cycle of life, death, and rebirth was not a curse imposed upon me by the devil, but a reflection of the eternal struggle in every soul, a battle between the desire for transcendence and the pull of ultimate despair. Now, as I stand at the crossroads once more, I see the path before me as a continuation of an old nightmare and the promise of a brand new beginning. The guitar in my hands vibrates with a life of its own, its strings singing the sorrow and hope of countless souls who have walked this path before. I have learned that true liberation comes not from escaping the past, but from embracing every moment and every note of pain and ecstasy that finds its way to you. In a final twist of fate, I discovered that my so-called death at 27 was not an end, but a doorway, a momentary rest in the symphony of my existence. I had been reborn into a cycle where each performance marked both an ending and a beginning, a dark lullaby that promised to play on indefinitely. The horror of the deal I made was not that I sold my soul to an external force, but that I gave myself to an unending cycle of creation and loss. I now bear that knowledge as a blessing and curse, forever haunted by the truth that I am the architect of my fate. My music, imbued with the bittersweet strains of life and death, continues to play throughout time, a reminder that every note is a step into eternal light and darkness. I am Robert Johnson, and my blues sound will remain until there is no one left to embrace it and play it forward, creating their own symphony of the life they have chosen to embrace.
Hello, my Nightmare Obsession fans. We hope you loved this story and were almost frightened to death, left wanting even more. If so, please share video and our channel link with friends and family and ask them to subscribe, like, comment, and share with their friends and family too. We really want to create more nightmarish horror stories for you, so please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel now. We would really appreciate it. Thanks so much.